And I learned a very, very important thing this week. A very important life lesson. Faith that hasn't been tried or tested cannot be trusted. I had the opportunity on Monday to speak in front of, there was like 400 people at a church at an impromptu service, just to support my mother and my little sisters that were in ICU with, 20 broke ribs, collapsed lung, pierced lung, broke spinal cord, on a ventilator, a feeding tube, and all this crazy stuff that as a son, when you look at your mother, you're like, this can't be possible. That's the same mom that used to beat me half to death, right? You know what I'm saying? That's the same mom that, I'm one of 9 children. I got 6 brothers, 2 sisters. And unfortunately, both those sisters were in that same car accident. And, it took all of the things that I had prepared to speak on today, and it shredded them up, and it said, hey, we're going to speak on stuff that matters. How's that? Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in you got to be positive. I'm a firm believer in you got to speak good things. You got to have vision. You got to have all the things that if you're in a leadership class, I'm well aware you've heard 50,000 times. Some people like to call that a clue, right? But there's also things that people need to speak about, and that's adversity. The benefits of trials, right? Mm-hmm. Without adversity, you can't have empathy. I was in a church the other day, and I'm not going to go religious 6,000 on you guys, but here's what I will say. Bad things happen to good people. If anyone, knew my mother at all, she was a prayer warrior. She's like the cliche, pray without ceasing, for sure Christian. And it comes to mind, like, why do, and not even in a religious way, why do bad things happen to good people? Why? My mom was a leader. Speaking of leaders, my mom could come in here and she could have everyone pumped and motivated. So what I want to go into on a very brief summary is, how do we find leaders, right? I know Jesus did a great job introducing, I graduated from Robinson High School back in that 07 year when I went to state, and I went and played at a small Bible college in North Dakota because no one else would let me play. When I was 9, I had a dream. I was like, I'm going to be a professional running back. I know it. I just know it, My mom still has it running a pew card, from a church service. I said, I'm going to be a professional running back. 2 obstacles, right? One obstacle, I was a white guy. Let's just be honest. I don't play running back often. Let's just be real. The other one was I was a fat kid. I was fat. So I'm sitting there, and I had these major obstacles. Dr. Robinson ended up playing nose guard. If anyone knows anything about football, that might be the polar opposite of running back. Carried the ball one time in high school, state championship game, for a first down. I love it how Coach Lewis put it on me, because if we wouldn't have got that conversion on that 4th down, the game would have been over. It'd all been my fault. I was like, thanks, Coach. The one time you gave the ball, appreciate you. But went on, a small Bible college took a chance on me, and they said, we're going to have you come in. You can play linebacker because you're a little small, because I was like 200 pounds, if that, soaking wet. And they said, we're going to let you come in and do that. And first string running back, first game gets hurt. Second string running back gets hurt. Third string running back has an attitude. And they say, Ben, you're kind of fast. Get in there. 3 touchdowns, 137 yards later, I had that vision. I had always took the stance of, I'm already a professional running back. I just have to work to prove it. Always. And it's easy to come up here and say cliche things like that. But it's hard when it's 6 in the morning, right? Amen. And your coach is telling you, that's the stuff that makes leaders. If I'm going to speak on leadership, I'm going to speak on the adversity that it takes to become a leader. I could absolutely cancel today, but as a leader, I know that when you say something, you do it. Despite obstacles, despite adversity, despite the things that get in our way. For example, I like to think of Abraham Lincoln. He talked about the compass, right? And he said, it points north, but the compass doesn't tell you about what? It doesn't tell you about the Indians, right? It doesn't tell you about the streams, the mountains, the famine, the poverty. It's just going to give you a direction. And what leaders can do is they can identify and they can say, you know what? If that's my goal, if that's my objection, I'm going to accomplish it because I have a little bit of vision. I have a couple notes, and I didn't mean to go on a tangent about my mother, at the beginning, but I'll tell you this. It's easy to do things, in life when it's all good, okay? And everyone in this room, I hope, has a mental understanding of it. And when the time comes and it's difficult, I implore you. Adversity. Remember this. If you have notes, I know you've probably been trained to take notes. Not that I have anything to say worth doing this, but here's the deal. Adversity causes some people to break, but others to break records. Any of y'all have ever listened to Jim Rohn, one of my favorite speakers in history? His best friend is one of my mentors. His name is Jerry Ball. 74 years old, made $74 million. He's one of my absolute mentors in business. Love the guy. And he said, there's two men. You might even heard the story, right? It's raining outside. One salesman looks out the window and goes, oh, it's raining. And they don't expect us to go out and make sales, do they? The same day, different guy looks out the window, says, hey, it's raining. Everyone's going to be home, especially the salesman, right? So we're going to talk about today, it's not what happens to you, like Jim Rohn always says, it's what you do. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do. I've learned that, like Jim Rohn says, it rains on the rich, too. Adversity happens to us all. Happenings. We can talk about happenings all day, can't we? Things that have happened to us. We can probably have a long list, like Jim Rohn says, of reasons why we're not doing well. Fair? Has anyone ever had those? Does anyone currently have a long list of reasons why I'm not doing well? Anyone got them? We all have them. Then we hold them in our back pockets sometimes. And when someone says, Benjamin, why are you not doing well? And I say, well, I thought you'd never ask. And I get out my long list of reasons. And I say, right, I'm like, well, I have not studied the government, the weather, right? Neighbors, friends, negative family, And it's so funny, this is a Jim Rohn lesson that I'll never forget. He says, taxes, how do they expect you to do well, right? You bring this much money to the store, you don't get anything back. The current government, the administration, oh my gosh, they've been raising those taxes these days. We all have a list of happenings, but it's what you do about it. One of the things I want to go into today in regard to being a leader is this. Separate. Y'all don't mind if I run the board, do you? Please. Separate the world from what? You. Close. Your world. Leaders learn to separate the world from your world. I know you guys have probably read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? Talking about your circle of influence, your circle of control, your circle of... does anyone know what I'm referring to? A lot of us live, and the reason I bring this up is a lot of people live in the world. And they want to talk about the news and the happenings and all this crazy stuff that's happening everywhere. And what we do is we never separate ourselves from what's happening in the world to understand what's happening in our world. Does that make sense? And the more that you control what's happening in your circle of control, the next is the circle of influence, and this grows. People, have you ever said, man, I want to be a world changer? Anyone in this room ever thought that? Mm-hmm. You don't go to leadership classes unless it's just maybe you're a really cool teacher, right? And it's just like, hey, go to that class. Hey, I know how it goes. Don't worry. Hey, I play college ball. I get it. So we have to understand how to separate, the world from our world. And I want to talk about how to recognize a leader today. And I apologize, this is my notes that were wrote down this morning because I did not have any time to prepare while in the hospital, just being transparent. But there's an old quote that I love, and I'm going to start with, and it's this. If you want to make a living, grow rice. If you want to make a great living, grow apple trees. If you're sitting in this room and you want to make a fortune, grow people. Leadership is about growing people. With our actions, there's an old Christian quote they say, you might be the only Bible that people ever read. There's a lot of truth there. Leaders have vision. Freedom is one of my favorite words in the English language, but vision maybe is most important. You might have even seen this before. Most people die at the age of 26 and they're not buried till 76. Think about that, people. Some people in this room are already dying, despite being at college. Some people are here at college because they think that's what they just need to do. But where's vision, right? Don't go through the motions. If there's anything that I tell you guys today, if there's anything that I can impress upon you today, is don't go through the motions. Have vision. Stop these limiting, forces on your brain. You know, right? I want you guys to go back. I want you to go back to when you're 9 or 10 years old, right? Some of you wanted to be a cowboy. Some of you wanted to be a singer. Some of you wanted to be astronauts. Some of you wanted to be, give me some. Some of you wanted to be what? Give me some crazy. Carpenter.
Lawyer.
Lawyer. Want to be a lawyer. What else? Doctor, right? What else?
Coach.
Teacher. Coach. Some of you guys are taking actions today to do that. Some of you are sitting there with things that you want to do, but you refuse to say them because you have died. There's a man lying in his hospital bed, and he's looking around the room, and he doesn't really recognize any of the people. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? He's looking around, he's like kind of dazed. He's like, man, guys, thank you for coming to say, goodbye. And an older gentleman in the back of the room, who, kind of doesn't want to walk up, he says, we're not here to say goodbye. And the man about to pass away looks around and he says, well, we're your hopes and your dreams and your goals and your potential and your ambition, and we're here to die with you. If there's anything that I can tell you guys today, it's this. If you want something, do it. Don't complain. Don't moan. Don't blame others. Take that list that you have in your back pocket, tear it up. Matter of fact, after that, go to your house, grab your television, drag it to your front porch, take the nearest baseball bat, and beat it to pieces. I can't say this to a lot of people in this college, but I can say it to people who want to be leaders. If you want to be leaders, stop tuning into that propaganda box that's going to sit in your living room and tell you how to think and what to think and how to feel. The reason you go to college is why? To learn how to think, not what to think, right? I love talking to leaders. Everyone in this room, you can tell, is hungry. One of the philosophies that I have in everything I do in business, and me and my wife have managed to grow a team that's now international in our business, and we have people in 14, 15 different states, and we all did this in the last year. And the way we've done this is we have went to find leaders. And I had a point, and I just lost it. Tell me about my point.
She's got it.
Stay hungry.
That's what you call a wife right there. That's it. Woo, got it. Leaders have the ability to do two things. She's going to hold that over my head forever. Never again, yeah? Leaders have the ability to do two things. It's one of my mottos in everything in life. Stay hungry. Everyone's heard that, right? Stay hungry. You gotta be hungry. Y'all heard that, right? Eat the right things. You gotta stay hungry. But if you're eating Whataburger, and I don't mean physical food, I'm talking if you're eating a bunch of junk, people talking bad, negative, being, complaining. The people who have the longest list, you need to get them out of your lives. I know you don't need another person to come harp you on that, but the truth is, the longer someone's list is, the harder it is to revoke. Think about it. Stay hungry. Eat the right things. You are the average of the 5 people you put yourself around the most, period. There's no getting away from that. If you're hanging around a bunch of people who smoke, right, cigarettes, sit on the couch, complain about everything, and watch television all day, let me guarantee you something. Your ability to discern and become a leader will be wore down every single day. You will eventually become the average of the 5 people you put yourself around. Stay hungry. Eat the right things. Learn the lessons of the seasons. What's cool about seasons, right? They never change. Every year there's what?
4 of them.
There's 4 of them. What are they?
Summer, spring, winter, fall.
That's right. Sometimes you got long winters, right?
Okay.
But we put up with winter when? Until it's over. How long do you give your child time to learn how to walk? 6 months?
Whatever you decide to.
Right? A year? No. Hey, what if your kid's 2 years old and he's not walking? You don't give up on him, do you? You do it until it happens. A lot of us, I've asked them, Ben, or I ask people, hey, listen, why'd you quit the business? You partnered up with me. You made a commitment. Why'd you quit the business? People, you know what? I had a lot of people. I got reasons. I got a big list of people who have reasons why they can't complete what they've started. But I've never, you know what I've never had someone say? I've never had anyone say, Ben, I quit the business because I'm a quitter. I quit at this. I quit at football. I quit at soccer. I quit playing guitar. I quit college. I quit relationships. I quit friendships. I quit. I'm a quitter, Ben. Never heard anyone say that. Ask yourself, what are some things that you started and you haven't finished? And then ask yourself all the other principles that I've already spoken on. Is it because you're around the wrong people? Is it because you're eating the wrong things? Is it because you're too busy? Raise your hand if you ever told someone, I would do that, but I'm so busy. We spent $1,000 on a training course with Darren Hardy. If you're familiar with Darren Hardy, he's a fantastic personal development coach. And he talks about, we all have the same time. And a lot of us can't really put this into perspective, but Warren Buffett really does have the same time as we do. What is your excuse? What did Bill Gates, he said, if you are born poor, it is not your fault. But if you die poor, it is. I'm not here saying money is what it's all about. Okay? Me and my wife have very large financial goals. We want that. Money is an easy thing to count, right? So if you want to see who's doing well, who's not, it's an easy thing to count. But money's not everything. I always like to say money doesn't buy happiness, but neither does poverty. Poverty also does not buy happiness. It's a lot easier to cry in a Maserati than it is a bicycle. Right? The reason I want to go into a leader needs unwavering courage. One of the cool things about unwavering courage is sometimes it can bend, right? Sometimes you can feel like I can't do this anymore. Has anyone ever felt that way? Mm-hmm. The truth is, everyone in this room, just from being in this room, taking a leadership course, has probably failed more than the other people. Was it? There's a quote of, I'd rather face an army of lions led by a sheep than an army of sheep led by a lion. I applaud you guys in this room. I love it, because the truth is you guys probably have more war stories than anyone else, because you're trying to break free. You're trying to swim upstream. Let me go ahead and just tell you some things that are going to happen. If you really, and by the way, everyone in this room will not succeed. That's just the harsh reality. There's different definitions of succeeding in life, right? And everywhere, I felt like your own path can lead in certain ways. But what I will say is, not everyone's going to succeed to that goal that they set, right? That thing that they really wanted. Because the truth is, it's hard. We're fish swimming upstream. Have you ever thought about that? You're swimming upstream. Everyone else is doing this just kind of cruising through life. And the moment you want to stop, what happens? All you got to do is what? Pick up your feet. That's all you got to do. Can you imagine going 10 years of your life and you're swimming upstream and you've got everyone telling you, what are you doing, Ben? Stop that. I have many people tell me, Ben, those businesses don't work, or this or that, right? Or Ben, it's hard. You're not being able to spend time with your friends, this and that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to make this happen, period. I'm going to make this happen. Boom. If I wanted to stop, all I'd have to do is what? When it came to football. All I have to do is pick up my feet. Relax. That's it. It took 1 second. Momentum is a cruel mistress. Leaders learn how to create momentum in everything they do. Does anyone have any specific goals as leaders here? Is anyone, maybe the most outrageous one? I'd love to hear the most. I think it's amazing. My favorite.
Slow down.
Slow down. That's good. It's funny, Darren Hardy, that same guy I was telling you about, was sometimes you got to slow down to speed up. You've got to learn how to separate the world from your world. Have you ever had anyone who says, I'm just so busy, I'm always doing it, right? I'm busy. And you ever talk to somebody and they're just pulling their hair out and they're like, I gotta go here, I gotta do this, but they're not productive. Have you ever met anyone like that? Mm-hmm. They're busy, but they're not productive. Mm-hmm. One of the key things, and I know I'm kind of scatterbrained today, but the key things I would encourage you guys to do is set aside an hour and a half whenever you want to be productive, of sessions, and literally turn your phone off, isolate yourself completely, and you'll get more done in that hour and a half jam session than you ever would have done an entire day trying to multitask. You ever wondered about people who are NASCAR drivers who aren't texting? No matter how good they are, right? No matter how good, think about it. There's some guys that probably could, right, and beat us still. But they don't, because you can't focus on two things at one time. My motto for everything in business has always been Focusthenwin. But I want you to know, when you do those jam sessions, if you ever just want to sit down, I encourage you to do that. Set everything aside. Tell your family, lock them out, and do an hour and a half of your topic, and you'll kill it. And the next thing you know, in an hour and a half, you're like, I got so much done. And then you will. You'll have that time freedom that everyone else wishes they had, but they're too busy going, I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to go here, and I got to do that, right? So, How to recognize a leader. Leaders always learn how to present ideas and train in everything they do. Think about it. Think about all the leaders you've ever looked up to. Good, bad, any of them. They learn how to, it doesn't have to communicate by being outspoken and talking a lot. That's not what I'm saying. They learn how to present ideas and train, aka duplicate. Have y'all ever spoke about this in this class? Leaders learn to delegate. It is the raise your hand if you have a problem delegating. I have a terrible problem delegating because I always wonder, like, oh man, is this person going to do it as good or right? Leaders learn how to duplicate. That's a key. That one might be the most important thing. Leaders learn how to duplicate. Leaders consistently work on their attitude. You know, I know you guys have probably seen it before. Please stop me if you have, so I don't waste too much time. Marker, eraser. If you haven't, it's a nice little thing that'll stick with you. Does anyone know what I'm referring to? If you take the numeric value add those numbers up. Someone add them up. Tell me what that is. 100%. The key to absolutely everything you do for the rest of your entire existence is going to come down to your attitude. No one wants to follow someone who complains and moans and gripes and complains and moans and gripes and repeats that process over and over and over. Everything you ever do, this will all add up to be 100%. And this is the 100% most important thing. When you follow someone in your life, think about it, pastors, friends, people who are influential on you. It's always because when you're around them, they charge you, right? They supercharge you. They have a good attitude. That is a key to everything you do. Anyone can get excited for a day or two, right? Some can get excited for a month, 2, 3 months. Y'all ever know someone who was excited, started a business, started a playing guitar or something, right? We're excited for a month or two. But real champions can be excited for years and years and years, or however it takes to get the job done, right? Another thing, leaders share that vision. They learn how to share the vision. There's a difference because if a leader doesn't duplicate, he doesn't learn how to share the vision, he becomes a tyrant. A leader that doesn't duplicate becomes a tyrant. Think about it. There were 3 people that wanted to take the spot of, it was an old story of Adolf Hitler. They said he wanted to take his position. And he said he gave 3 people little baby chicks, right? He gave you this, you got a chick, you got a chick, and you got a chick. A little cute one, right? You know what I'm talking about? The little fuzzy ones that everyone's going to be eating in a couple of weeks. Or I guess pretty soon. So, little peep-looking things. The first one, he was too soft with the chick, right? And it got away. And he said, no, you're not my replacement. Next one, he was too strong. He squeezed it. He mushed it. And what happened to the chick? He killed it. Also not a good, right? Not a good tyrant. But the next one, he slowly plucked every feather from that chick's body. So the chick curled up in the warmth of his hands. And that was the one who decided to succeed. So remember, if you're not duplicating, you're going to be dependent on it. And that hurts people, doesn't help them. That's the most awful thing. Have you ever looked at a leader that makes people dependent? Or a boyfriend that makes a girl obsessed with them? Intentional? Some of us have been those boyfriends, right? Or the opposite. That purposely makes someone dependent. That is not the attribute of a leader. A leader can duplicate. And that's a story that it's going to be stuck in your brain. You're like, that guy came and talked about this chick thing. What a terrible person. It's like, what a bad guy. Leaders promote the development of others. And I want to speak about the cage philosophy of crabs. Y'all ever heard this? You put a bunch of crabs, if you put a trap in the ocean, and this is really the truth, and I want to warn all you guys if you haven't. On your journey to become a true leader, someone who really can influence the world and change people around you, I want you to know that It's not only are you going to have the natural current going against you, you're also going to have people that you care about go against you. So you drop that crab bucket into the water, and it goes down, and you have a little bit of food in there. What eventually happens over time?
Fills up with crabs.
Fills up with crabs. You're right. First there's one or two. He's like, hey, look at this food. And then next thing you know, there's 50 crabs in there. Next thing you know there's hundreds and hundreds of crabs, but there's no food. But guess what? They keep on coming. Crabs keep on coming. And what will end up happening is when the crabs, there will be some smart crab, right, that goes to MCC and is in a leadership class, and he says, hey, something that guy said, maybe it makes sense. Maybe I don't need to be with all these other crabs. And he starts to leave, right? He's like, okay, I'm going to get out of here. There's no food. And guess what happens? Guess what the other crabs will do?
Pull you back in.
No.
Pull you back in.
Or start eating each other.
They're going to grab him. They're going to grab him by his arms, and they're going to pull him back. If you put them in a bucket, crabs will do it. The one trying to escape, the other ones will cut off their limbs. It's terrible. Crabs are mean creatures, right? They're evil. So they will grab him and they'll pull him down. Has anyone in this room ever felt that you tried to do something big and people close to you grabbed you and pulled you down? Mm-hmm. I don't mean to get biblical, but the Bible says a prophet's never known in his own country or his own city. Just know that when you go and you try to do something great, you are going to have obstacles from the people you care about the most, because they have to wake up in the morning and they got to walk over to the mirror, right? They got to look themselves in the eye and they got to say, why can't I do what he's doing? So I want to forewarn you guys. Maybe the most important thing to talk about today is you're going to have obstacles. Leaders, get over it. Right? And one of the last things that I'll talk about today, and I'll ask you, any kind of questions or anything. I know he said there's a QA session or something like that. And I apologize for not being super formal today. Hope y'all don't mind. Leaders are not born, they're created. They are created. There's 3 rules in my business and everything I do. It's document, duplicate, disappear. If you don't duplicate, you can never disappear. In my business, we always talk about time freedom. We always talk about creating enough residual income that one day you could become free. And it's sad because very few people yet achieve it because they'll quit along the way, right? And the 3 Ds are document, duplicate, disappear. Anyone ever own businesses here? Anyone own a small business? Anyone have even a small family business that they're part of? Who knows who Robert Kiyosaki is? He talks about cash quadrants. Robert Kiyosaki is a financial advisor. He talks about, there's 4 types of people that make up the world of business. And this is a quick example. E, employees, who exchange time for money, right? And then we have small business, self-employed, sales. Anyone does sales? I love sales. It's so much fun, right? It's like the chase is so great, And then you have B for big business, which are 500 employees or more, right? When me and you are asking if we can get a potty break, they're the ones picking what island in Croatia they want to visit. Right? Everyone would be like, what the heck did they do right? What the heck? How'd they get there? And then there's I, investors. They're people's money makes them money. Robert Kiyosaki talks about, and to get the right side of the cash quadrant, you need at least $5 million in 5 years, or you need about 500 employees or more of leveraged income. We're all familiar with leveraged income, but the reason I bring this up is he said, when he wrote a book with Donald Trump, he said that 3% of people will ever get anywhere close to this area. And he said if you take away all the money, big business investor, if you take away all the money in the world and you divided it up equally with everybody, the travesty is in about 5 years, it would all be in the same people's hands. Why? You ever asked yourself why NFL and NBA players are broke 2-3 years later? You ever asked yourself? Because your personal development, that's why I'm so excited you guys are here. Your personal development will sustain your finances. I encourage everyone here, non-MCC books. They probably have some great ones, but grab some personal development books, right? Great ones. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends, Influence People. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. All these books will free you. They will free you. But the reason I bring this up is, he said 97% of people end up over here, employees and small business. And I've had people after speaking at seminars, they'll come up to me and they'll say, Ben, man, you're right. I own a business. He said, I really don't own my business, Ben. My business owns me. He said, employees, they have a job. But has anyone ever been a small business and said, man, I own a job? I consider mothers in this quadrant. If y'all have ever, if y'all ever want to grab a pen, please, and write this book down, and I promise you it's worth your time. Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesman in the World. It has nothing to do with sales. Has anyone ever read that book in this room? It's the bomb. If you want to be a leader, if you want to be a world changer, that book is amazing. And I don't get paid anything for writing that book. Trust me.
What was the name of the book?
It's the author is Og Mandino, and it's the greatest salesman in the world. It's not about sales, so no one get worried like you're going to try to teach you verbal tie downs or anything like that. The greatest salesman in the world. Here's one of the quotes from that book. For I'm a lion, I'm not a sheep. I refuse to walk, talk, or sleep with sheep, for they weep and complain, and that disease of the mind is contagious. He talks about, I will form good habits and become their slaves. How many times have y'all talked about habits in this class? It's everything. And he said, the rich and the poor have a couple habits. And I'm not here to give financial coaching. I just want this is going to always go back to leadership. He said that, 97% of people and 3%, they all have these special little things. And anyone read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich? Great book. He said that there was a broke college student back in the, and he met Rockefeller, and he brought him into his office, and he sat him down, and he said, son, I want you to work for me for 20 years, and I'm not going to give you anything, son. I don't know if he said that, but, something like that. And he said, I want you to work for 20 years, and I'm not going to give you a penny. Hey, I'm the first one to say I would put my hand up. But he said, okay. Why? Good question, right? Because he said, the world's richest man, documented billionaire, way back in the day, said he was going to teach me, or he wanted something from me, right? He could have picked anyone else, but he picked me. So he went around and he studied the richest people in the world, he studied the poorest people in the world. He says, all the rich people use three things in common. Y'all want to know what those are? They use OPI, other people's ideas. Intelligence is very good. Ideas, right? OPM, other people's money, right? If you ever want to start a business, the rule of business is don't use your own money. Get a loan. I'm kidding. And OPE, other people's efforts. He said, I'd rather 100% of other people's efforts than 100% of my own. I'd rather 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. Why? Because if you get sick, guess what happens to your income? It's over. You got 3 months away from the average American is 3 months away from like, I don't know if people know that. 3 months. But he said, all the rich people use OPI, other people's ideas, OPE, other people's efforts, and OPM, other people's money. But he said, you know what the crazy part is? You know what the really crazy part is? What all the people who have to work a job for 40 hours a week for 40 years to depend on 40% of the income that they did for the first 40 years. You know what they share? One thing.